They said she wouldn't make it through the night. My wife, my best friend, was fighting for her life, and I was told to prepare for goodbye. But how do you say goodbye to the person who is your entire world? Couldn't. I refused. So I stayed. All night. And what happened next changed everything. It was 6:47 p.m. I was washing dishes when my phone rang. An unknown number. At first, I almost didn't answer. Then a voice I'll never forget said, "Sir, your wife's been in an accident. You need to come immediately." Everything went silent. I don't even remember grabbing my keys. I just remember the sound of my heart pounding as I drove, running every red light, praying out loud, "Please, God, don't take her from me." When I arrived, they didn't even let me see her right away. Just machines, wires, doctors moving fast. And then, the words that crushed me, "She's critical. We don't think she'll survive the night." The waiting room was colder than any place I've ever been. It wasn't just the temperature, it was the silence. People crying quietly, the sound of coffee cups, vending machines, nurses walking by. Every minute felt like an hour. Her wedding ring was still in my pocket. I had taken it off her finger before they rushed her into surgery. I remember holding it so tight my hands started bleeding. A doctor came out around midnight. He said, "Her chances are very low. You might want to call your family." I didn't call anyone. I just said, "I'm not leaving." When they finally let me see her, she looked peaceful. But it wasn't peace. It was fragility, the kind you can feel breaking in your hands. Machines were breathing for her. Her skin was pale. Tubes everywhere. I sat down beside her, held her hand, and whispered, "Remember that night we promised to grow old together? I'm still here. I'm not giving up." All night, I talked to her about our first date, our wedding day, the baby names we argued about but never used. Every story, every memory, I poured into that room, hoping somehow she could hear me. Around 3 a.m., the monitors beeped differently. I didn't know what it meant, but a nurse ran in, then another, then the doctor. My heart stopped. He looked at me, then back at the screen. And then, for the first time that night, he smiled. "She's responding." Just 2 words. But to me, they sounded like thunder. I cried. Couldn't even breathe. She wasn't out of danger, not even close, but it was something. It was the first light in the longest night of my life. When the sun came up, it hit her face through the blinds. And for a second, she moved. Just a twitch. Her hand in mine tightened ever so slightly. The nurse said, "That's reflex." But I knew it wasn't. It was her. She was still fighting. Hours passed. Doctors came and went. Her body was weak, but her heart wouldn't quit. That morning I whispered, "You're still my miracle, even if you never wake up." And that's when her eyes opened. Just for a moment. Recovery wasn't instant. Days turned into weeks. There were setbacks, tears, and nights I thought I'd lose her all over again. But every small step, every breath she took on her own, was proof that faith isn't about ignoring the odds. It's about defying them. One afternoon, the same doctor who told me she wouldn't survive walked in smiling. He said, "She's going to make it." I'll never forget that moment. I didn't thank him right away. I just dropped to my knees and cried. Months later, she walked again. Not perfectly, not easily, but she walked toward me. And I realized something. I wasn't the one who refused to give up on her. She was the one who never gave up on life. When I look back at that night, I don't remember the fear anymore. I remember the strength, the love, and the silence that spoke louder than any words. So if you've ever been told it's hopeless, don't believe it, because sometimes miracles don't look like lightning from heaven. They look like a heartbeat that refuses to stop. People love to talk about miracles, but they don't talk about the price they come with. When my wife finally came home, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. Our house was quiet. The smell of antiseptic still clung to her clothes, and every sound, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, felt like it was waiting to break her again. She couldn't walk without help. She couldn't eat on her own for weeks. And at night, she would wake up screaming, her eyes wide open, trapped somewhere between this world and the one she almost didn't return from. I'd sit beside her, holding her hand, whispering the same words I said in that ICU. I'm still here. I'm not leaving. Some nights I had to carry her to bed. Other nights, she'd push me away, angry at her own body for failing her. But I learned something no doctor could teach me. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a storm you learn to walk through, even when it hurts. One morning, I found her standing by the window, sunlight hitting her hair. She turned to me and said softly, "Do you ever wish you hadn't stayed?" I froze. I wanted to tell her I never once regretted it, but my voice cracked before I could speak. So I just held her and we cried, not because of the pain, but because we both survived it. That's when I realized, miracles aren't about surviving the night, they're about learning to live after it. Months later, we returned to the hospital, this time not as patients but as witnesses. She wanted to thank the nurses who stayed past their shifts, the doctor who whispered, "She's responding," and the janitor who prayed outside her room when no one was watching. When we walked through those hallways again, the smell of antiseptic hit me, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. It felt like stepping into a nightmare I'd already lived. But she squeezed my hand and said, "It's okay. We made it." In that moment, I realized something powerful. That night didn't just test our love. It forged it. Before we left, she turned to me and said, "Promise me one thing. If life ever hits us that hard again, don't just survive with me. Live with me." And I smiled, because I finally understood what she meant. Survival is what gets you through the night. But living, truly living, is what happens after the sun comes up. Today, when people see her walking, laughing, cooking again, they call her a miracle. But I know better. She's not a miracle because she cheated death. She's a miracle because she chose life. Again and again. Soft music rises. Camera pans to the couple walking under sunlight. Narrator, voice calm, emotional. They told me my wife wouldn't survive the night. But maybe they were wrong about what survival really means.